And they threaten your dreams, your prospects, everything that you worked so hard to build. So we just want them to operate in a way that's fair and honest and in the open, so that we don't have to go through what we've already gone through. We want to make sure it works for Mount Pleasant, it works for Macon and Fort Madison. Now, let me explain to you what this reform should look like, because one of the things you discover when you get to Washington is what's black is white, and what's up is down, and sometimes people will I didn't say lie, but they will tell stories about what's going on. So let me just be very clear in terms of what we're proposing on financial reform. First, and I know this is important to you because it's important to me, we're going to make sure the American taxpayer is never again on the hook when a Wall Street firm fails. Never again. We don't want to see another bailout. That's what this reform does. Now you had some who were saying cynically, just claiming the opposite, that somehow this was a bill that institutionalized bailouts. What this bill did was it said, no, if you have a firm on Wall Street that fails, the financial industry is going to pay, not taxpayers. So a vote for reform is a vote to end taxpayer-funded bailouts, once and for all. If a crisis like this again happens, financial firms are going to foot the bill. That's point number one. Point number two, we're going to close the loopholes that allowed derivatives and all these other large risky deals that don't make a lot of economic sense and that could threaten our entire economy. We want to bring those deals out of the dark alleys of our financial system into the light of day, so that everybody knows exactly what's happening, what risks are being taken, investors, shareholders, everybody knows what's going on. That's the second thing. Number three, this reform's going to give you more power, because we're going to put in place the strongest consumer financial protections in history. Because, and the reason this is important, this crisis wasn't just the result of what happened on Wall Street. It also happened because there were a lot of decisions by folks out on Main Street who were taking out mortgages they didn't understand, credit cards they didn't understand, auto loans that weren't a good deal. Some took on obligations they couldn't afford, but millions of others were deceived or misled by shifting terms and confusing conditions and forests of fine print. And your Attorney General, Lisa Madigan, has been fighting on behalf of consumers in this state, and she knows how badly we need these protections. In fact, Lisa and a bunch of other attorney generals came to testify on behalf of the need for these consumer protection bills, because they see this stuff in their offices every day, and it's true all across the country. Now, some argue that giving consumers more information in clear, concise ways is somehow going to stifle competition. I believe the opposite. See, I think if you know what you're buying, you can make a good decision. And that means that the companies, instead of competing to see who can offer the most confusing products, companies will have to compete the old-fashioned way by offering the best product. But that's not going to reduce innovation or competition. You just should be knowing what you're buying. It's like a lemon law, right? You don't want to go into the used car lot and get something where they've changed the odometer and, put on a fresh coat of paint on some old beater and pretend like it's a new car. Well, it's the same thing with financial products. You should know what you're getting. All right, so that's the third thing. Finally, we're going to give the people who own these companies, these financial companies, mainly investors and pension holders and shareholders like many of you, we want you to have more say in the way they're run. Because some of these firms, they've got these huge salaries, huge bonuses that create a perverse incentive to encourage people to take reckless risks. But if you own stock in these companies, you need to get some say in how they're operating. You'll get to decide how managers are paid and how those firms operate, and that means that we'll actually increase the connection between Main Street and Wall Street. They'll be more accountable to you. So that's the reform that we put forward. These are the reforms that we're putting forward. Accountability, which means no more bailouts. Closing loopholes. No more trading of things like derivatives in the shadows. Consumer protections. No more deceptive products. A say on pay so that we give shareholders a more powerful voice. That's what we're trying to do. Now I don't think this should be a partisan issue. Everybody, Republicans and Democrats and independents, were hurt by this crisis. So everybody should want to fix it. So I'm very pleased that after a few days of delay, it appears an agreement may be in hand to allow this debate to move forward on the Senate floor on this critical issue. I'm very pleased by that. And I want to work with anyone, Republican or Democrat, who wants to pursue these reforms in good faith. And there can be some legitimate differences on certain issues, but the bottom line is consumers have to be protected. We have to end bailouts. We've got to make sure that these trading practices are out in the open. We've got to make sure that people have a say in terms of how these firms operate so they're more accountable. So as long as we're adhering to those clear principles, then I feel okay. What I don't want is a deal made that is written by the financial industry lobbyists. We've had enough of that. We've had enough of that. I want to listen to what they have to say, but I don't want them writing the bill. I don't want Democrats and Republicans agreeing to a bill written by them, for them. I want a bill that's written for you, for the American people. So we're going to see how this debate unfolds. We're going to get this done. And we're going to get it done because you demand it. It's been 2 years since this crisis, born on Wall Street, slammed into Main Street with its full fury. And while things aren't nearly back to normal out here, they're getting back to normal pretty quick up there. Some in Washington think this debate's moving too fast. They think, well, you know, this is kind of a political game. Let's see how this whole thing can play to our advantage in November. See, that's not how I play. I've been calling for better rules on Wall Street since 2007, before this crisis happened. So I don't think we're moving too fast. I think we've been moving too slow. It's time to get this done. And I don't think you want to see us wait for another year or 2 years. I don't think you think Washington's moving too fast. I think you want to get this done. You shouldn't have to wait another day for the protections from some of the practices that got us into this mess. We can't let the recovery that's finally beginning to take hold fall prey to a whole new round of recklessness. If we don't learn the lessons of this crisis, we doom ourselves to repeat. And I refuse to let that happen. So the time for reform is now. Quincy, let me just say this. Through all the noise and the lobbyists and the partisanship, and I know sometimes you're watching TV and saying, sheesh, you know, everybody's yelling and hollering, and why are they so mad? But this debate comes down to a simple choice. Are we going to go down the same road, where irresponsibility of a few can put millions of families at risk and stick taxpayers with the tab? Or are we going to protect consumers and strengthen our financial system and put rules in place that keep this from happening ever again? Are we going to give in to the special interests? Or are we going to score another victory for the American people? Are we going to stick with the status quo? Are we going to bring about fundamental change that makes things work for ordinary Americans? We've got the power. We've got the power to do something about this. That's all it comes down to, the will to act. You know, I still believe we can come together, just like y'all came together during those floods, filling those sandbags. Everybody joining together. Everybody breaking a little sweat. Everybody helping out. That's how America got built. We are not powerless in the face of our challenges. We don't quit when things get tough. We're not afraid when something happens. We come together, we move forward, we act. We are Americans. Our destiny is written by us, not for us. And if we remember that and summon that spirit once again, we're going to strengthen our economy today and tomorrow and restore security to the middle class. That's what we're fighting for. The American dream right here in Quincy, right here in Illinois, all across the country. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.